Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Pay no attention to the Firebird, that's for a future video. We're going to be doing some work on this 66 Ford F100 that's got all kinds of goodies on it. What's up, everybody? It's been a little bit. I've been super busy. So we're going to do some quick catch-up. I'll show you one of the vehicles I've been doing some work on. So we'll get into the details first. This is a 1966 Ford F100. It was built by a good friend of ours, one of our painters, actually. It has some questionable wiring in it. He had a guy doing the wiring for him, and he finally just said, hey, can I bring it to you? Because I'm not happy with how it is, and boy, am I glad he did. But this is a beautiful truck. Side exit exhaust on both sides, nice and Frenched in there. I forget whose wheels these are, but these were matte black. He painted them because he is the body guy. Did them all gloss. They're really nice. It is Gen 1 Coyote swapped. I have some stuff apart right now. It's Gen 1 Coyote and 6R80 running a factory Copperhead computer. I've been doing tuning on it all week and getting that in. GT500 fuel pump in the older style Fat Fender Garage rear mount tank. As you can see, the Fat Fender Garage access as well. We've used these on quite a few builds. They're pretty awesome. The only thing I'm going to tell him to do is to get one of the quick fill caps so you don't have to unscrew this thing. And then I think that's good. He did a tailgate handle flip, which worked out perfect. Roll pan. Looks beautiful back here. I do not have it up on the lift, so I can't show you it, but I know where I can show you it. This has a full QA1 front suspension and rear with QA1's front K-member. Same exact suspension that we have in our next F100 build, which, stay tuned. This is coming soon too. So, that kit, you cut out the factory crossmember, and their crossmember bolts in at multiple tie-in points, gives you a frame brace and everything, changes it to rack and pinion, changes it to coilover. We've got big wheelwards on this one. This one does not have big wheelwards, but it has good enough brakes for what it is. This one we're looking to go a little crazy on. And then we have their rear suspension. So, not going to get a great look at it because I'm laying under the truck, but their rear suspension, we've got the factory 9-inch in here with their brackets, panhard bar, coilovers, single control arm, and a torque arm like your 3rd gen Camaro Firebirds. Figured I'd get down here on my belly to show you as much as I could. There's your torque arm. It's a very nice suspension system. Now, as I've said, I've been driving and street tuning this thing, and I can tell you it runs and drives and handles awesome. Nice and smooth, but got plenty of grip. Very good in the corners. I'm super impressed with it, actually. So I can't wait to get that other one done. And the interior is no frills. Got some cool stuff on it. These TMI seats, they may be, I'm not sure. They just don't have the, I believe they are, they just don't have the TMI stitching on them. But yeah, pretty basic interior. He's got a multimedia radio thing in there. But now, let's go over some of the stuff I have to take care of. Alright, so first and foremost was the tune. I had to straighten all that. It was just out of the box from, I believe, Power by the Hour as it comes. They all have to be fine-tuned and stuff. AC also had to be charged. This has vintage air, has Dakota digitals. As you can see, Willward Booster Master. He doesn't have an AC machine, so he just, put it all together, and I had to fill it with oil, charge it, do that whole thing. What I found out was, while driving it, AC was beautiful. You come to a stop, AC sucked. So, I mean, obviously, first thing I looked at was airflow to the condenser, and ignore this, I put this in there, but you can see the space between the radiator and your condenser, and when your fans are on, there's just no way this is going to pull enough air through that condenser at idle. So I have the vehicle fans hooked up through the ECM for engine cooling only, and I installed this smaller fan that we have that was actually perfect size for the condenser. This came off of a car that we replaced and upgraded fans on, but it's plenty of CFM for this condenser. That is hooked into the pressure switch for the AC system, which is mounted down under here. So the AC is great now. Now, I do not have any overheating issues, but if you've ever done a Coyote swap on anything, any vehicle at all, you know that if you have a shutoff valve in your heater line, as most AC systems do, including factory, you have to have a way for these two to loop into each other, or you will get overheating issues in your cylinder heads. It's a long known fact. So, they make a little H-pipe connection like that. The problem with this installation, as you can see, is that is on the wrong side of your shutoff valve. So I will have coolant flowing out of here, flowing through the heater core, coming back out, and just doing nothing. It's basically just deadheaded because this one is shut off. So this is the next thing I have to do, is flip this and this. So this is on this side of that valve. Not a huge deal. Like I said, it is not overheating now, but it's just, that's how it is. It's everybody, that's a known thing with Coyote swaps, that's how it has to be, so why chance it? We're going to do it the right way. Next up, lighting issues. Now, first, for marker and turn signals, front and rear, we had an issue on front and rear. The one side would be hooked up correctly so that when you turned your parking lights on, your dims would come on. And then obviously your brights are for either your brake lights in the rear or your directional brake lights and directionals, and your directionals in the front. Well, the kid who wired this had them reversed so that one side was dim, one side was bright. So the bright side obviously wasn't doing anything, because if your brights are on and then your dim is flashing, you can't even see that dim. And he had it on one corner in the front and the opposite corner in the rear like that. So I had to take those apart and do it. Then we have the next issue. So next up for the lighting, as you can see, my parking lights are on. These headlights have halos in them. They're pretty cool. So the way these should be wired are to come on with your parking lights, which they are. But this should be parking light power in, and then your ground should be body grounded. What he did was wire them in line the way that you would do it factory, and then you get this. You get the factory wigwag that you don't really want with halos. So I'm going to take these apart and rewire these and put the ground to body ground so these stay on whenever your parking lights or headlights are on, and do not wigwag with your regular, turn signals. He also did it so there's no reverse lights, which I don't know why. He has it wired all the way up to the switch, but the problem is he never put power on the other side of the switch. So I'll be taking care of that as well. And that is also the same issue with the wipers. Everything is wired except for one power wire to power these. And before we go inside to the rest of the wiring issues, I'm just gonna look at one other thing out here. It's totally okay to vent these to atmosphere in a Ford. It's not like a GM if you're running mass airflow where it's putting unmetered air into there, but you have to vent both of them. So, and they did in this, but I don't like doing that. I like running them to some kind of a Mustang elbow, or even a whole Mustang cold air, like I believe this is a cheap Mustang cold air, to keep all of that crankcase fumes and all that stuff in the crankcase, so it doesn't make its way up over there to your intake, to your fresh air, and it just doesn't smell like, oily fuel and whatnot out here. And eventually these things always end up, getting saturated and dripping down your valve covers. You can do it either way. It's just not my preferred way, but that we're going to leave because that's not a problem. All right, next problem. So I'm going to turn the key on. You can see the gauges did their self-check. Now I'm going to turn the lights on. We have no lights in the gauges. So these gauges, he did not hook up backlighting. He did not hook up directionals. He did not hook up high beam telltale. And this has an e-stop kit that they give you a wire to hook up into the Dakota Digital that will tell you if your parking brake is on or not, but he didn't hook any of that up. So I'm going to end up having to pull this whole assembly out, pull that cluster out, and figure that out. Plus, he's got some funkiness going on here with gauge wiring. Alrighty, so you guys know me, and you know I like my simplicity when it comes to wiring all these aftermarket accessories and all that stuff. Let me turn this key off. Dakota Digital, I like if you're running a Terminator or a Sniper or a factory computer that has an OBD2 port, I like running a BIM module and taking all your signals from there, all the ones available, because Sniper, they're not all available, and Ford, I'll get into this real quick, what's not available on this. But it plugs into your OBD2 port and gives you all your signals directly from your ECM to your cluster. So you don't have to run separate sensors for each thing and run separate wires for like your speedometer and your tach and all that stuff. It'll get all of that from that OBD2 port. Fords, the Coyote swaps, the one thing that they don't, 90% of them don't, is oil pressure, because they use an on-off style switch that just tells the ECM, yes, you have oil pressure, or no, you don't. It doesn't give you an actual pressure reading that translates in here. So that, you put that on there. But coolant, mile per hour, tach, what else we got in here? That's really it, because voltage, it gets it just from your volt hookup, and fuel level, very rarely do I ever go through the ECM stuff. It's always just directly from the fuel sender itself, which we'll get into that in a second too. But everything is working on this except for the speedometer. Now, as I just said, you can get mile per hour readings from the OBD2. That's my HP Tuners dongle in there right now because I was doing some tuning. But you can see, I thought they had a BIM module in there. Well, under this dash, they also have, let me just get under there. All right, let's get under here. All right, so they got a GPS speedometer box from Dakota Digital, which I'm confused as to why. And on the other side of that, you can also see they're just hanging in here. They've got the GSS 3000, which this gives you your gear positions on the dash, so that's good. We can keep that. But two problems with this GPS speedometer box. Number one, the GPS antenna is just wrapped up under here somewhere. I don't know where, but it's under the dash. I don't know if this guy knows it or not, but a GPS antenna needs to be able to see the satellites to work. That's one problem. The second problem is there is absolutely no need for that with a BIM module pulling it directly from the OBD2. So stuff like that I got to take care of. Other than that, on the inside, I think we're good. I don't think anything else needs to be addressed. Let's, well, I can't really show you the fuel level sender, but let's just go back there. Alrighty, so fuel tank stuff, fuel level sender more directly. So we have our Fat Fender Garage access here. It's a Boyd's tank. I'm going to tell him to get the quick fill adapter like we use on most of ours, so you don't have to sit here and unscrew this stuff when it's hot or cold or raining. You just pop it in, pull it out. It's just like modern cars. It's got the little flapper on it. This is the older style GT500 tank from Fat Fender Garage. I think from Boyd's for Fat Fender Garage. I think by now they are using the CTSV pump, ZL1 pump in all of these. It's just a much easier pump to use. The GT500 pumps, the hat mounts at a crazy angle when the bottom is flat, and the CTSV ZL1 pumps are flat and flat. So you can just make a square tank, put it in. You don't have to do a bunch of bending or a bunch of forming or fabbing, and it's much cheaper for the manufacturers, so they do that. One problem with the CTSV pump is you can't use the factory fuel level sender, but all those tanks come with your normal 5-hole drop-in sender to whatever you want. Whatever, I think they make them almost in every manufacturer's own range. We always just do the 090 GMs. Even if it's not a GM, it's in the Dakota Digital, because we always do Dakota Digital stuff. It's in there for their programming. Here's the problem. The programming is not in there for the GT500, which there's two of them. There's a brake ear, I forget what it is, but this is the one that I believe is, when it's empty, it's 240 ohms. When it's full, it's 30 ohms, and that option is not in there. They do have a custom option that you can do custom programming to whatever sensor you have, which is what I have to do. But you have to be able to manually hold the sensor one way, hold the sensor the other way to do it. So I'll have to be dropping this tank. But if you have the option when you're ordering tanks and stuff for these swaps, this is pulse width modulated still. It's controlled by a VaporWorks controller. Go with the CTSV one. It's just the easier of the two. So yeah, as you can see, it needs a few things, odds and ends and stuff, but overall it's pretty together. Just the wrong guy wired it, and our buddy is aware of that, and that's why it's here. He did a really awesome job on it. I think it looks killer. I like the wood. This is, I believe, from Bedwood Ink. Looks great. It is dusty as hell. I have to wash it. But all in all, she's looking pretty decent. I am digging the exhaust. So the guy who is the end owner of this owns an exhaust shop. So he did his own exhaust. It's like this on both sides, and our buddy did the French work in there to do all that. I don't know if I showed you the back. So he's got a tailgate flip, or a handle flip. So the back all smoothed out, nice roll pan. Actually one of the nicer roll pans I've seen on these trucks, because sometimes these roll pans look kind of weird because this truck has such a big flat back end. But I'm digging it. And the color is awesome, all blacked out chrome and this destroyer gray. It's looking good, and the wheels just work with it. And like I said, simple but decently done interior. And it is, as I said, with the suspension that's on the truck we're building is the same one that's in here, and it is awesome riding, just absolutely awesome. So I'm gonna start taking care of all my stuff, and then we'll get this one back to the customer. But thanks for stopping along and listening to me talk about correcting all the things I have to correct. I'll talk to you guys later.